Hi, I'm Alan Douglas. Welcome to my studio. Today I'll be working on a small painting I'm calling Imperial Artifact. And what I want to show you a little bit is how to tackle some leaf litter in a forest. So the idea behind this painting is to juxtapose the familiar with the unfamiliar. So we're familiar with forests, we're familiar with squirrels. Those of us that are Star Wars fans are also very familiar with the Imperial probots. But I'm juxtaposing that in an unfamiliar way by showing the probot in an environment that we haven't seen before. In this case, it's a forest. The only time we've seen it in the series so far has been on the ice planet of Hoth. So what I want to show you for this one is how to, an easy way to create leaf litter. Now I've already started kind of the first layer here. You can see parts of my drawing. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little better. You can see parts of my underdrawing here with washes of the underpainting over top. And then I've added just some kind of dashes of brushstrokes of a darker, more opaque brown on top of that. So to create realistic leaf litter in a very easy, non-laborious way, basically I'm just going to kind of continue to do more layers of the same. And then at the very end, what'll give it a really realistic look is to add in some higher details of just kind of the silhouettes of some of the leaves in the light and some sticks and that sort of thing. But the first thing I want to do is just lay down a wash over top of the leaf litter. And again, this unifies everything and gives me something to work off of, where I can then push and pull lights and darks. Now you could laboriously render everything out, but it's just way too time consuming, and the look that doing it loose gives you is just as effective. You'll see in areas that I know I want in shadow, I'll kind of glaze it a little darker in those areas. Like near where these roots meet the ground, where the probot meets the ground. And what this will do is it'll create a slightly darker color to then pop the lights, to put lights there to pop them. So really, I mean, it's just in it. There's no real rhyme or reason to where I'm adding lights and darks, just here and there. Eventually, some of this underpainting and stuff will still show through, which is okay. Those the pencil work of the lines showing through underneath will just add a little more texture to what I have going on. And you do need to observe what the forest floor looks like. So there's tons of little sticks and twigs and crumpled leaves. A mistake a lot of people try to do is to render out leaves as you normally think of them with their exact shape, but when they dry up and are on the forest floor, they're all sorts of different shapes. You can see I'm just selectively adding highlights here and there. And it'll be those final layers where I really kind of render out the shapes of leaves. Like I mentioned, I left it a little darker here, so what I could do is eventually, and I'll just do this real roughly right now so you can get an idea. You know, if you add a leaf here, maybe that's the curve of the stem. Just a little bit of that silhouette, and you don't have to paint the whole leaf, just have it kind of going into the leaf litter. Having it mixed with other stuff, but you start to juxtapose those silhouettes of leaves against all the other chaos of what is established, and the eye will fill in the rest. So you get the idea that there's a lot more detail there than what you've really rendered out. Another thing you can do is against the darker portion of the bottom of the probot, And this will eventually get glazed a little darker. So this, what I'm going to show you now, will have even more impact once that happens. But just little strands of grasses poking up through the leaf litter and overlapping the base of that probot. Now it's a probot's head, it's not even the whole thing. And this is where you can kind of leave it up to your imagination as to what happened to it. A lot of times I love my artwork to raise as many questions as it answers. So just, you can see how putting some stuff highlighted against the darkness there kind of helps pop it forward. And of course, I'm not opposed to painting over stuff that I don't like, so I don't like the shape of that particular blade of grass, so if that happens, just paint over it. Reestablish what was there and go to it from there. Never settle. It's as a painting, it's not like a photograph where a lot of it is accidental. A painting, you plan out every piece of it. So if you create a blade of grass that you just don't like the look of, then don't keep it. Paint over it. Wipe it out. So in addition to painting in some of these highlights that you've seen, in areas underneath where those highlights appear, like under the stick that I just painted, you can pop in some darks. So this particular forest floor, I will probably add a couple more layers to what's going on. Probably at least 2 or 3. Lay this down, let it dry, glaze it back, pop in highlights, darks, glaze it. It's a push and pull process that takes a few layers to get to where I want. Better. So remember, silhouettes of some leaves, shadows underneath highlights, glaze it back, push and pull. But one last thing I want to show you is you can just use the other side of your brush. And I did this a little bit in the underpainting, is just scratch away at the paint a little bit, you know. Creates a little more randomness. And they can look like little twigs in the end, especially when you glaze them down, and ones that you don't want to stand out don't have to stand out. Sometimes what I'll do is I will add, well, forests are great in this respect because you can just create the light any way you want. There could be little spotlights of illumination here and there through the dappled light, and I might add some of that too. I'm also toying with the idea of just keeping it very somber and misty. So it could go one of 2 ways. It could be a very sunlit scene, or it could be kind of a misty, foggy forest, and it could go one of 2 ways, and I haven't settled upon which way it's going to go yet. But anyway, hopefully this helps out a little bit in your painting of your own pieces.